All right. We are getting through these chapters quick. We only have 5 chapters left. So we're at 15. Unlock the power of your influence. I really, really like this chapter. It's probably one of my favorites. Although this morning when I was laying there thinking, oh, I got to re-review this chapter, somehow I listened to 16, which is rather long. So something to look forward to next week, which was good. Like I got a lot of value out of it, a little refresher. But unlocking your power and influence is modeling behaviors, right? It's modeling a behavior in your life, right? You would model it for others. You would inspire others. You would act and behave from a way of being, right? Whatever it is. Mel gives a lot of good examples in this chapter. Throughout this chapter, she speaks about the pressure of wanting someone you care about to change. And paradoxically, when we want someone to change and we push them, we pressure them, we want them to change, what ends up happening with increased pressure is paradoxically, you get more of what you don't want. And I think that you could probably see that in your own life, maybe your own self growing up, maybe as a teenager, maybe when you're going to college, or if you didn't go to college, that early adulthood period of time. Obviously, it depends on your upbringing and your connection with family, but that seems to be a really pressurable, I'm not sure if that's a word, time of our lives. I've coached many young individuals that are in their early 20s, or even actually my youngest client has been 16, where there's a lot of pressure to perform and to be a certain way and to do things that are culturally, societally expected of them, maybe from their family, expectations of them to be something that they don't want to be, that their parents are living through them. And in essence, I also have coached a lot of parents, and actually have spoken, today's only Tuesday, and I've spoken to 2 parents this week that have adult children, and they want me to coach them. Adults with adult children that have grown up, moved out of the house, and they are coming from a loving place, wanting the best for their adult children and seeking coaching versus counseling or therapy for their adult children. Just in both of the situations, it was out of curiosity. What does it look like to have a coach? What is the investment? What would you do with them? This is the scenario. This is what's happening in their life, in their world. And what topics do you coach on? And so it's really about a conversation with these adult, well-meaning parents that want their adult children to change in some way. What I find interesting too is there's usually a little bit of me in there, right? Not me, but the parent, the parent gently wanting their children to be a certain way. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that there's, again, pressure. They don't see it as pressure. They're coming from love. They're coming from wanting the best for their kids, or wanting their child or children, their adult children, to avoid pitfalls and pain and suffering and agony that maybe they've experienced or maybe they've seen in other people. So they come from a loving, caring, compassionate place. And so on that topic, if you're curious, since I brought it up, my conversation with both of those parents were, I would love to speak to your adult child. If this is something you're wanting to gift them, for instance, great. This is what it costs. Maybe it's something that they want to invest in. Oftentimes it's best that the adult child invests in it themselves because they have skin in the game. They have buy-in. But if you're wanting to lovingly gift it to them, I've worked with many clients in that capacity too, and it works super well. But I want to speak to them. I want to have a conversation. So I'll carve out an hour and spend, or max, with your adult child and have a conversation, because they have to have buy-in, rapport with me build trust, and some sort of knowing of what to expect. I want to be able to fully answer their questions and have really create a canister or a relationship with them in that time frame. See if I'm a good fit for them, right? If there's a connection, if they feel like they can be vulnerable and speak to me. So I think that's very big, and that's a huge key factor. Because they might talk to me and they might go, I would prefer a male coach, or something different, or maybe right now is a bad time, right? Maybe they don't have the time, or they don't see the value, and that's great, that's fine. But I don't want somebody to spend money with me and have all these high hopes and expectations, and their adult child not book the sessions. All right, so back to this chapter. Influencing is modeling, it's inspiring, it's doing, it's thinking, believing, and doing the things that they want to see in their loved one. I think for the most part, I see this in relationships and marriages or partnerships where they're with somebody else or living with someone, and they want to inspire their partner in life, for instance, to think, act, and behave in a certain way. For me, and I think I shared this in one of the really early chapters of this book review, is when I came across the period, I was in my early 30s, I decided I want to make my body look like an amazing, like the best I can, the strongest I can, and decided I'm going to do this. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to hire a coach. I'm going to hire a trainer. And I signed up for a bodybuilding show that really committed me to it. I set a hard deadline to it. And when I commit to something, I follow through. But what I did, it was an 18-month journey. And it was a good year before anyone in my house. I bought a family membership, $220 a month, which some of you might think, wow, that's an expensive gym membership. Some of you might think that's normal. I don't know. I think I pay $80 at my local gym. It's very small though. It has not all the frills and features of the one that I started off with. But it was a year before anyone in my family came with me. I could have bought a single membership, but I didn't know. I thought, oh, everybody will come with me. I thought they'll join me. I thought, I'll make it look fun and inviting. And look, this is a way to decompress. There's a cafe there. There's food. There's smoothies. This and that. But it took a good year, and that's okay. I didn't know what I know today, and I knew to influence the people in my household. Now, all three of them, my two daughters and my husband, may have a totally different perspective on what I was influencing them. From my memory, from my recollection, I was inspiring and I was modeling a behavior. So I don't know. They're not here, so they're not able to give you their version, but I believe from my memory, I was inspiring them. But I remember it taking a long time. As adults, so if we are lovingly, from well-meaning intentions, wanting to influence an adult, right? So we really want to, that's what she talks a lot about in this book. The next chapter, she does talk about kids just a little bit, but when we have well-meaning intentions, we really want for an adult to change, to modify their behaviors. It's really, we want to give them agency. We want to give them control over their own life, their own choices. We want them to feel as though they have a choice to move through or past or over whatever phase in their life that they're going through, whatever that you might be seeing as destructive or not good for them, or that they could do better or make new choices or move past a relationship or friendships or whatever. It's really because adults are only going to take action and change their life when they view it as important. Adults are not going to make major changes in their life, or even small changes in their behaviors and their actions and what they think and what they believe and what they do on a daily basis, unless it's vital, unless they see it as important, unless they see it as valuable to them. That's intrinsic, right? Internal, right? It's another way to word it. But when there is intrinsic motivation, that there's value to them, they see it as important. When they see that the pain of staying where they are what they're experiencing, their thoughts, their beliefs, their behaviors, and what they're going through right now is worse than what it would entail to make changes, right? So if the pain is worse, to stay where they are versus change. Because a lot of people, when they come to me and like, hey, I want to lose weight, and I know it's going to be brutal, I know it's going to be painful, I know it's going to be awful, I know because I've done this before and I hated it and it was awful and miserable. And when they paint the picture that way about how awful and horrible and miserable it's going to be, like, it feeds the brain that there's something scary there. There's something's going to kill them. And their brain is going to say, nope, 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 stay over here. Because our brain is always going to move us towards what feels good and familiar. So what feels good is the pictures we create in our mind, the words that we say about it, how we describe it, the relationship to it. In order for our brain to move us towards it, it has to be images in our mind, words that come out of our mouth, and what we think and we believe is a good feeling, a good result. Our brain also loves what's familiar. So what is familiar is what we do on repeat. Our brain loves patterns. Our brain loves things that we do over and over and over and over and over again. Mel labels it differently in the book. She uses different terms, different statements, but it all means the same thing. I think she uses that the brain loves to move towards things that are fun and pleasurable and safe. Same thing, means the same thing. Okay, which is very true. I've experienced that in my own life, literally. Like, I have heightened awareness, so I notice that, like, if there's dishes that need to be done, and if I'm imagining them being gross or painful or loud, or I don't like doing them because the last thing we made was lasagna and it's so stuck on the pan and it's really going to take a lot of time and it's really gross, and I imagine myself gagging. I'm exaggerating here. But if I imagine it that way, I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to push it down on the to-do list. I'm going to want to do that less and less and less. The more painful it sounds, the more difficult, the more awful the pictures that I paint and the words that I believe in, what an attachment of the meaning towards that action. If I believe it's horrible, it's awful, it's fearful and disgusting, I'm likely not going to do it at all today if it's so extreme, or I'm going to do it, but it will be against my own free will. So the brain does love things that are fun, pleasurable, safe, that feel good, that feel familiar. And if you understand that, really, you can actually manipulate your own brain, right? So you can look at doing dishes as fun and exciting. How can I make doing dishes fun and exciting, right? So what can I pair up with doing dishes that are going to make taking that old dried up lasagna off of that pan in a fun, competitive, competitive is something I love. Not everybody has a positive connotation with it. So choose your words wisely. What words land for you? What words light your heart on fire and excite you? So whatever that is, you can gamify it, is another way to word it. You can gamify doing dishes in a way that you paint a picture of it being fun and exciting and thrilling and pleasurable, or competitive, because I like that term. That's what's going to move you towards it. That's what's going to move you towards the direction of completing that task, whatever it is. So for those of you watching this, if you're open to it, if you're available and curious, I would love to know from you if there's been someone in your life that you love, care about, that you've influenced to take action and maybe a different direction than where they were headed, right? So maybe it's someone maybe it's a child, or maybe it's a spouse, or maybe it's a friend, or maybe it's somebody else that you deeply care about. Maybe it's even a parent. Has there been someone in your life that you've influenced to improve their life in some way? And if you'd be willing to share just a brief story, it doesn't have to be specific, it doesn't have to have a lot of detail. I would love to hear that in the comments. And kind of as I alluded to earlier, is, my daughters joined the gym with me during my journey, my 18 months, right? They came the latter part. And I think the statement that they said was, my oldest one at the time, she's like, I want my butt to look like your butt. So that was the motivating factor for her. Intrinsic, right? It's all about what she wants, and that's great. I had a workout buddy 2 or 3 days a week for a while, and then now to this day, many years later, she's a consistent gym goer, and yeah, she's amazing. Both my daughters are amazing. Both of them go to the gym 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week. So it's awesome. So I do believe that I can get the award of the influencer in our family on that piece, right? Anyways, Mel alludes to understanding what is and isn't out of your control. I think a lot of times as humans, we get confused by what is and isn't in our control. There's more things that are out of our control than what is in our control. There is language out there that says that we can control what we think, say, and do. I don't necessarily believe that you can control what you think. You can command your brain to think more this way or that way if you have heightened conscious awareness. But what I know that Mel is pointing towards is controlling another adult and their decisions on what they do with their life, whether it be, their health or their job or the direction of their education or relationships that they're involved in. And those things are not in your control. And I was recently doing a coaching session with someone that was wanting another person to change for all kinds of reasons. And they had a lot of excuses, a lot of justifications and excuses why they needed them to change and do things differently. And what's interesting is all the excuses, justifications, and reasonings had nothing to do with them initially on the surface. And I did some coaching, just kind of like poked around, asked open-ended questions, which Mel talks a lot about and gives some examples in this chapter, poked around and prodded around, and I did find an agenda. There's actually several agendas in there. And what I mean by an agenda is it's me, 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 me. There's a benefit to me, 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 right? It's for me. There's something in there for me. And I always find that fascinating because that's the ego getting in the way, right? That's the ego sometimes being really sneaky, right? Saying, oh, it's for this person, and oh, it's for that person. It's for their better good. It's for the community. It's for this, it's for that. When really at the end of the day, it's really all about them. And once we remove the agenda, because really what it was in the coaching situation that they wanted coaching on is, how do I have a conversation with this person, give them feedback, tell them how to act and behave in a way that they felt needed to be done. They wanted this person to comply. They wanted this person to change how they were doing things because it impacted all these other people. But at the end of the day, that person really was frustrated and wanted them to change now because it did impact them greatly. Without giving any details, and because I can't, and all my coaching conversations are confidential, at the end of the day, what it ends up being at the end of the coaching session is a very big awareness that this person was coming from frustration, right? My client was coming from frustration, from anger, from this needs to change now, this urgency, this pressure, which is what Mel talks about in this chapter. When you come from pressure, ego is involved. You're wanting things to go a certain way. You're wanting to control things. You're wanting to change things to make you feel, or my client, to feel safe, to make my client feel good, make my client feel in a way that they got things to change to where everyone would benefit, but primarily them. And what ends up occurring when that's pointed out, that's a blind spot, right? They can't see that. They don't know that. Like, again, they came up with all these reasons and justifications that it's not for me, it's for all these other people, the community, my daughter, all these other people. Has nothing to do with me. Okay, it doesn't. You could be right. Poked around, it has to do everything to do with him. And what he realized at the end of the conversation is I can approach this person, putting aside my agenda, putting aside my justifications, my excuses, my reasons, my opinions, my judgments, my criticism, and approach this person from love and compassion, right? They don't have like loving, really, it's not a love relationship. It's almost like it's like a transactional situation. The thing is you can approach someone from a kindness, compassion, a loving heart, where it opens them up to having a conversation, to be able to share with them ways to move forward if that person feels like they're also frustrated or struggling. So when we approach someone from a loving, compassionate, accepting place, oftentimes they're receptive to hear feedback, if you want to call it that, maybe some sort of advice, right? As adults, or human beings don't like getting advice unless there's trust, unless there's a line of communication or rapport built, or what I like to call the bank account of goodwill. It's basically, if someone knocked on my door and says, hey, I would like to give you some advice that might give you a lot of peace of mind and joy and pleasure in your life. If I don't know this person, have no trust and no rapport with them, I'd think, what kind of weirdo are you? No, thank you. Take your advice someplace else. You're not I don't have trust and rapport with you. So initially, again, in this coaching situation, it was like, I want to force this on them. I want them to change now. It was a bunch of pressure, but at the end of the call, it was like, I get it now. What I like to focus on in relationships, no matter what the relationship is, it could be a business relationship, it could be a transactional relationship like this one was, or it could be an intimate relationship. But what I always like to think of is what is the energy you want reciprocated back from that person in a conversation, right? So that there's a conversation that needs to be had. But if you're wanting to come from pressure, you're wanting to dictate, and you're wanting to control, and you're wanting things to be a certain way, oftentimes you're going to get a wall, you're going to get the door slammed on you. And in this situation, it was a realization that if I the energy he wanted returned to him is openness, curiosity, receptiveness. Anyways, we went through an exercise that provided a bunch of language that landed for this individual. And it was like, okay, well, if you're wanting that reciprocated back, that's what you have to lead with. So when you lead from curiosity, when you lead with openness, what it ends up doing is it breaks down walls, it takes down barriers, it lowers the hand, it opens up the door to a person's heart, a willingness to share, a willingness to be vulnerable, a willingness to hear what feedback you might have that might benefit them, if they're even open to it. And you've got to ask permission. And then Mel goes into acceptance and making peace with what people do, say, and believe. I 100% believe in that. I think in every situation we can either change something or we can accept. And that just really makes it simple. It's what I look at when I'm coaching with a client, is like, what is there that they can change within their control? And if there's nothing that they can change, then, and I like to explore that in depth, like, let's be creative, let's be innovative. What can we change? What are the levers that you can pull? What are the things that you can do in this situation that you can change? And it can be wild, crazy ideas to very simple, very easy, logical ideas. So let's explore that for a while. And then the other part is there parts or pieces or all of this that we can just make peace with, make acceptance with? Oftentimes there's a big part of that. A lot of times what we are thinking and believing is creating the hardship, the difficulties in our life. It's usually in our head. It's not what's happening outside of us. So when we make peace and stay in our own lane and focus in on our mental, emotional, and physical energy and let other people focus on their mental, emotional, physical energy, it's much more peaceful. We all live in peace. So there is some value or service. Sometimes there's a value or service that we can offer to other people and lighten their load. And we can do that from a loving, compassionate, curious state of mind. When we are coming from pressure, demanding, dictating, wanting to control things, it's usually going to be faced with defensiveness, going to be faced with you're wrong and I'm right. Right? We human beings, especially as adults, want our own agency. We want to have our own choice in our own life and what we do or what we don't do. When we approach someone with constructive feedback or constructive criticism, often that is coming from pressure, that's coming from urgency, that has an agenda attached to it. And it paradoxically makes matters worse. So when we shift our mental, emotional, and physical energy towards ourselves, manage our own energy, manage our own attitude, when we stay in our own lane, we, again, are modeling behaviors. We're inspiring others to really do the same. And when we are in a mental, emotional, and physical healthy state, what we end up doing is we often teach other people how to treat us as well. Okay, so if we are kind, compassionate, empathetic, self-loving, we see ourselves as worthy and as enough, we teach people that that's how we also want to be treated. So when you model that behavior, you inspire others to treat you that way. When you're really harsh on yourself, when you're really judgmental on yourself, when you're really critical of yourself, it lets people know that that's okay to do to you. So when we really stay in our own lane, work and manage on our own mental, emotional, and physical energy, it really keeps life very simple. And truthfully, we only have enough bandwidth and energy to manage our own wants, needs, and desires. We don't have enough to give that to other people. As much as the movies want to show you that you can and you should, and society wants you to, that's really not how it works. That's what gets so confusing out there. But hi, Lynn. I'm so glad you're here with me. I'm going to go through my notes just a few more minutes and then we'll have a good chat. But if you're expecting someone to change, guaranteed resentment will follow in yourself, right? So you're almost drinking your own poison when you're wanting, pushing, and pressuring someone to change and do things differently. What ends up happening is the more you push, the more they push back, the more they defend, the more they resist. And what ends up happening is you gain resentment, which destroys the goodwill in the relationship. It destroys the trust. It creates walls, it creates distance, it puts a wedge between you and them. I do like Mel's ABC loop. I think it's super easy to remember. I think it's super simple. I think of it as a very, very simplistic coaching framework, honestly, which is great. Like, I wish I would have known about coaching way sooner than what I learned about it. It's I wish that we were all taught coaching, honestly, when we were kids. And I get why they don't. I understand that. We're much easier, we're more malleable and easier to manipulate, to be honest with you. But anyways, approaching someone with pent up frustration, as Mel says, or any kind of negative emotion will never land. Right? So always when you're wanting to have a conversation with someone and share with someone, something you want to change, or something you know that might spark some sort of conflict, check your energy at the door, right? First, you got to check the energy of the room, right? Are they receptive? Are they in high spirit, or at least neutral spirit? If they've had a really bad day and struggling with other things, they don't have the bandwidth to have a conversation. But definitely your energy enters the room before they do. So it's really coming again from that loving, compassionate, warm, empathetic place. When we want to connect with someone, when we want to have a bond with someone, when we want to have intimacy with someone, when we want to share ideas and collaborate with someone, it requires you to tap into the skill of deep listening. And for me, what I like to teach my clients when I'm in a coaching relationship with them is accessing a quiet mind versus a busy mind. Okay. So when we're deep, active listening to someone, there's no thinking. Like it's just a blank slate. Control, delete. There's nothing going on in my mind. Like I'm just listening. I'm really viscerally trying to feel what's going on in this person's reality. What are they thinking, believing, and experiencing in their life? And it's coming from deep compassion, unconditional love. It's coming from curiosity, like of a 5-year-old. I think kids can teach us a lot. When we watch them play and interact with each other, they come from such curiosity and willingness to understand. So what it does mean is putting aside all your opinions, all your judgments, what's good, right, wrong, better, worse, fair, or unfair, which is all thought and it's all judgment. It's felt. When people feel like you're judging them, they feel it, they know it, and communication stops. And that's why I kind of think I don't want to say it's hard, because it's not, but it is challenging in doing like the ABC method or any kind of coaching with family or friends, people that you have a history with that know you. And if you have any flavor or history of complaining or blaming or colluding or judgments at all, or strong opinions or views or wants or desires, or have pressure or urgency in your past in any kind of history, they're going to believe that you have that running in the background. That's why coaching is so beautiful. And I have clients tell me all the time that this is a sacred space, that they get to come and just tell me everything. I have had clients tell me that I know more than their spouse that they've had for 25 years. That their wife knows, or their husband knows bits and parts, and their brother and their sister and their moms and their aunts, they all know bits and pieces of the puzzle, but I know that all. Because there's space, there's trust, there's rapport. And I deeply, wholeheartedly listen to them without interrupting them, which is a skill that takes practice to learn, to craft, to hone, to improve, to maintain. And really looking to see, when you're having a conversation with someone, if you have an agenda or an outcome that you're looking to create by the end of the conversation, they feel it. That's an expectation. That's control. So it's really about practicing staying in your own lane and practicing giving other people agency over their own life, letting them come to their own conclusion, letting them have the insight, letting them put together the pieces and figure out, what do I need to think and believe that gets me from here to there? And it's having these conversations in a loving way with people that you care about, and omitting all your own stories, what's happened to you. It's removing all emotions and being able to put aside wanting to defend your character. I hear that a lot lately, where people will have a strong, heated, maybe conversation with someone that they care about. And they said that, instantly they're defensive. Instantly, they're like, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. And they just, everybody's wanting to defend their own character. When we listen, we seek to understand their perspective. Okay. So if they do raise their voice and they get mad and like, you're not listening to me, you're probably not. They're probably right. And I would actually literally say that. You're right. Let me reset. Let me just clear my mind. Okay, let's start over. Tell me again what it is that I can do to better this relationship. How do you want me to show up? What is it that I can do to help you? And if a conversation feels hard, you're doing it wrong. It means you're in your head. It means you're thinking about yourself. You have an agenda. You have expectations. You're wanting things to be a certain way. You're wanting to control it, or them, probably them. Truthfully, the best conversations are you feel just light and free. You're not sharing your stories. You have no agenda. There's no negative emotions or high emotions either, positive or negative. It's just neutral. You're just very neutral, very fluid, like, oh. And then you ask questions. What's that like? Tell me more. Say more about that. Could you say that in a different way? It's another great question. It's really fun to witness a human being that's struggling or feeling stuck or frustrated, processing and figuring out what the disconnect is why they're here and they want to get here, and figuring out what's in between. Why is it that their current behavior is creating an outcome that they don't want? It's really fun. And I wish that more people had that ability and that skill with their loved ones. I will admit, I did not learn that skill until about 10, 12 years ago. And I'm always still working on that. Not perfect. Nor should you. Because human beings connect with other human beings that are messy and learning their own way. I do love that Mel talks about leading with an apology. I also believe that when we lead with, I probably lead with an apology when it's needed, but I think the best thing is leading with empathy. I think that's crucial in any conversation. When you're involved in a conversation where someone is confiding in you and expressing their struggle and their pain and what they're going through, and they're really wanting to change, it's really leading with empathy. Empathy can really be as simple as, that's got to be really hard. That must be really difficult. I can see how what you're experiencing would be really heavy. I would use their words. So heavy, if they've used heavy, or if they feel stuck. Oh, I could see how you feel stuck. What's that like? What are some ideas that you have to get you unstuck? Right. So it's using their words, but leading with empathy and validating their feelings. So everybody's feelings are valid. I think that's a disconnect that people usually get really confused with, is validation of feelings is strictly just saying, I can see how what you're thinking and what you're believing would have you feel that way. Right? That's them, giving them ownership and an agency over their life, because what anybody is thinking and believing is going to create a feeling in their body. That's how us human beings work. A lot of people want to take someone else's feelings and tell them that they shouldn't feel that way. How do you know? You don't know what their thoughts are. Their thoughts and their feelings are theirs from their own reality, from their own experiences in their own life. Your thoughts, your feelings are yours. We all have our own reality, like our fingertips. So when we reflect back, well, first we apologize if that's needed. We validate their feelings. And then also if we reflect back what people say, like in a conversation where you're wanting to support someone, when you're wanting to hold space for someone that's stuck, that's challenged, that's having a difficult time, reflecting back what you hear them say in your own words oftentimes will light a light bulb in their head. They may tell you, no, that's not what I meant. No, that's not what I said. And actually, that's the best. Because when that happens, they usually will word it differently. They'll expand on it. They'll go deeper. They'll go broader. They'll tell you more details. I almost like to get it wrong over right. So reflecting back what someone says is, again, you're in a blank, empty, still, quiet mind. So you're listening to what they say and you repeat back in 1 or 2 sentences. It sounds like you're saying that you're stuck, you're frustrated, you don't know what to do, and things that you've tried in the past haven't worked. And they may say, yeah, you're right, but I think I'm going to try this time because that didn't work. And you just hold space. You don't say anything. You don't give them advice. You don't tell them what to do. Let them come up with it. And what heavy listening or deep listening, let's not say heavy, deep listening really requires you to listen 80%. Let them speak 80%. And when little voices come up in your head and little sparks come up in your head where you want to inject your opinion, when you want to inject your stories or your perspectives or what you think is right or wrong or what they should do, when you have those thoughts, just let those thoughts flow in and out. Let them flow in and out. Because when we want to inject our stories, when we want to inject our opinions and what they should do, we're taking the spotlight off of them and putting it on ourselves. And that doesn't feel good. If you've ever had that done. I've had that done probably 3 times in the last week to me. I'm like, oh, there we go. They don't know, and that's okay. Again, we're not taught how to properly listen and communicate, in my opinion. I don't know, that's an opinion. But anyways, I don't meet very many people that hold space and allow. I actually spoke to a family member today, and no, they don't do it at all. They kept talking over me and interrupting me, and that's okay. It's cute because I'm aware of that, and I just smiled because they don't know. Innocently, every time they interrupted, they were just excited. I got to tell you this. I got to tell you that. Like, okay. What is it? And then I lose my train of thought. That's fine. But it is rare to find somebody that knows how to deeply listen at a level where they are in a quiet mind. I will say that I am blessed with a husband that knows how to do that. He does. He's very good at it. Anyways, but it is fun. And I find myself getting excited. I want to inject too, even when he tells stories. Like, oh, I want to share with him what happened to me and what it reminds me of. So I get it. We're all human. Like I said, I'm not perfect. It is something that I work on constantly. Almost done here, Lynn. Again, it's about helping them holding space for them to facilitate a means or an action step to move forward. If you have an agenda at all, and it's not a specific one, it's just holding space for them to come up with their own way forward. And that's it, right? Even if it's a specific thing and you're involved in it, have no ideas in your head, none. Like they'll pop up in your head like popcorn, and just let them be. But just ask them, how do you plan to move forward? What would be one thing you could try? What's an action step? What's one small thing that you can do? What are you realizing in this conversation that you haven't tried? So it's, again, not telling them what to do. Let them come up with their action step. Let them come up with a great idea. And if they do have a great idea, you could go, oh, that's a great idea. And if they said, well, what ideas do you have? Certainly come up with with one, right? Say, you know what, this idea that you had, blah, 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 was a great idea. And what that reminded me of is this idea. Notice I said and, not a but, because when we say but, it basically says your idea is ridiculous and mine's better. See how complicated language can be? Like the single word can completely change the whole dialogue. But Mel does talk about marinating a conversation, and I love that word. I thought that was a really good word, but allowing people to marinate. I know that when I have coaching sessions with clients, the breakthroughs don't always happen in the sessions. Not always. Sometimes they happen later. Like people will text me or email me and it's like, gosh, I really not marinating. I don't think any clients ever use that word, but they will say, I was thinking about it and contemplating, or I was driving or in the shower or walking the dog, or usually it's doing something where they're in a quiet mind. And they're like, I had a realization. I had an insight. My wisdom told me something came up for me. I had a light bulb moment, or I had an aha moment. And those are all where they are really listening to their own gut, their own instinct, their own wisdom. And that's where the gold is. I think that we detach from that in this busy world that we're in. We get so busy that we're high speed ahead and we forget to listen to our own gut. We have social media and all these places that we can dump our problems out and have 30 people tell you their perspective, their ideas, or what to do. I'm in a lot of forums that have this, and I find it fascinating that 30 people tell someone that's been married for 25 years to divorce their husband. They're a narcissist and all these red flags and this and that and the other. And I'm like, wow, this person just put a paragraph up there and all 30 of these other people are telling them to get divorced. And I'm like, that's crazy. You don't know this person at all. Mel talks about positive reinforcement, celebrating. I believe in that, although what I would like to add is really asking them what they're proud of. Really, it goes back to intrinsic. Again, I like to teach my clients how to fish. I don't give them a fish. I want them to be internally motivated, because if I'm externally motivating them, then they're dependent on me. They're codependent on someone cheering them on, being proud of them, and that's not sustainable. Now, I know that there are professionals out there that create that dynamic. That's not me. I want my clients to come aboard, work with me, get huge transitions, transformations, changes in their life, and they are off and running. I want them to have easy tools to apply in their life and be able to cope and navigate through life in a way that they feel empowered. So for me, it's really about teaching them self-trust, self-love, seeing where their worthiness is, showing them that they are enough, but believing that viscerally in their body, not coming from me, not coming from the external world. So that would probably be one thing I would probably shift in this chapter, that I was, I mean, it's nice. I mean, we all love to hear that someone's proud of us, or we look nice, or we like to feel that, but the biggest, most sustainable and most impactful is when it comes from inside, when we believe it internally, and giving them asking them the questions that lead them to articulating and describing how they are very proud of their growth, how they are proud of what they are learning. So it's just a small tweak. It's a small shift. One final thing I will say is, unconditional love is when we are not complaining or wishing things are different. That's not unconditional love at all. When we approach someone that we care about and love, and we are coming from complaining, blaming, wishing things were different, coming from a scarcity mindset, it really is off-putting, and it really creates distance, separation. It puts a wedge in our relationships. It's really, as Mel talks about it, is it's acceptance, accepting the person for who they are and what they are going through, and being supportive in their journey. right? We all have our own struggles. We all have our own battles. We're all working on ourselves, hopefully. Some of us maybe not, but if we're not working on ourselves, it's because we don't know. We can't fix what we're unaware of. And that's why coaching is beneficial. Coaching is someone that's non-biased, someone that's outside of your world, outside of your family and friends, that can hear in your language things that you're saying, thinking and believing, that's creating this stuckness feeling. Your friends and your family know. They've probably told you, you just haven't heard it. And that's the thing, is that we typically don't listen to our family members. We have this filter that we put that they don't know, they don't understand, whatever. But when it comes from almost practically a complete stranger that they've invested in and they are trusting that are going to help them get unstuck, they oftentimes are way more receptive than from family, funny enough. But anyways, I would love to hear from you, Lynn, if chapter 15 was something that you recall. I think you've gone through the book. I think you went through it quickly, right? Unlock the power of your influence is chapter 15. So it's influencing others versus pressuring them to change.
Can you hear me?
I can. Yay!
I gotta find the picture, the video. Let's see. Video. Oh, can you see me too?
I can, yes. I love it. I love your hat. You got lipstick on and your earrings. I love it.
Well, I was outside. If you ever want to know how to not have a backyard, come on over and I'll show you how not to do it. So I was trimming around the rocks because I can't mow that close. And so I was doing that. I was out there for 2 hours and then my battery ran out and I came in and I wonder if you had emailed me back, and you had. And so I was, oh, shoot. So I apologize for being late.
It's fine. Thank you.
So it's in since I don't talk to very many people anymore, because I live up here on this mountain, the only person I talk to is my husband. Although, talking on the phone to lots of people, I really like the first part about apologizing. Sometimes it isn't an apology that's needed. It's sort of just gosh, I just wanted to get back to you about da 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 or something like that, but opening the door to listen to what people have to say. But I think your point about listening is really good, because a lot of times I find myself jumping in to give my opinion or to change what they're saying. And so I think that's why I like that chapter, is just keep your ears open and listen. Stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right?
Right. Only, I think my husband would say I've got 3 mouths. Could you let me finish? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So, anyway.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the recording if that's okay. And
sure.
if you would stay on.
Sure.
Okay.